Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Kemi, and I'm here to talk about Netflix's His and Hers. Now, before we get into this review, make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, and turning on your post notifications so you'll know whenever I post a video. All right, so now when I tell you this was a good watch, it was a good watch. Now this story is it's actually based on a book by Alice Feeney. And again, I apologize if I mispronounced that. But yeah, so it's based on a book. Now, me, I love to read. And what I normally do is if I watch something and then I find out there's a book that it's based off of, I always go back to read the book. So I'm probably going to go back and read this book just to see what changes were made and to see if they did the book justice. That's just me. So yes, I'm gonna do that because I did that with Bridgerton, like the first season. I watched it and then I went and read the book, and then because the book was so good, I actually read Kate and Anthony's book and Kate and Anthony's book, and then Benedict and I can't remember her name, but the new season that's about to come up, and I'm gonna review that as well. And then Colin and Penelope's book. So I read those four books. First season was good. Again, I liked the season. Book was good too. Second season, I loved the season. I also actually loved the book. Now, the book low key was nothing like the season, but I still loved the season. That was like my favorite season. I still go back and rewatch that one. And um Colin and Penelope's, I think I like their book better than I like the season because yeah, the season just wasn't it for me. And then, of course, we're about to see Benedict and his wife. So we'll see how that plays out. Because again, the way they did it wasn't in line with how the book is going. Because if I'm not mistaken, because I got to see how they're going to do that. Because in the book, in, I mean, yeah, and no, not Anthony, but in, what's her name? I can't think of the name, but Benedict's book, we didn't know who Whistledown was, but because we know who Whistledown is now, because they brought out Colin and Penelope's book, I mean story first. I don't know how they're gonna play that, but we about to see. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, I don't think, yeah, we didn't know who Whistledown was at that moment. Yeah, we didn't know who Whistledown was yet. Well, I think we knew. I mean, the people in the story didn't know. But anyways, this isn't about Bridgerton. Sorry. Let me get back on track. All right. So we start off His and Hers. Again, we're talking about His and Hers. So we start off His and Hers, and we see the victim laying on a car. And then we see the title card. And then we hear Tessa Thompson, who is Anna's character. She is reading a story. So she's reading a story, and she's basically saying, um, there's always three sides to a story. The truth, his and hers, and the truth, or something like that, or a lie, or something like that. But anyway, she starts, she starting off the show with her reading a story. So we see her coming in from out of the rain into a room, and her face is a little swollen, and she's like all wet, pissed off. She cleans out her room and she goes to go throw her stuff away, and she sees a picture of this lady on a billboard for the local news. So we find out that Anna, again, that's Anna, she is a newscaster who's been missing for a year, or she left for a year, and she goes back to go get her job, but they gave her job to the new anchor lady, which is Lexi Jones. Yeah, her name is Lexi Jones. So They gave the job to her and she's trying to get her job back, and the guy is just like, her boss is just like, well, I can't just give it to you because she has a contract and all this other stuff. And she's just like, fine, let me go and be a field reporter on this story out in Delonigan, which is where she's from or where she grew up. So he's just like, why? And she's just like, because there's a case out there about a victim, you know, an unalived victim or whatever. So he's just like, fine. And she was just like, and my cameraman, I wanted to be Richard Jones, which is Lexi's husband. So she she goes out to I'm sorry. So yeah, so then we see Jack, which is her husband. He's a cop and he's woken up by a little girl. We come to find out that's her niece, and he's living with his sister Zoe. So his niece wakes him up, and he goes downstairs. He gets the call that there's a victim that he has to go find in the woods. So he goes to his office. He picks up Priya, which is his partner. Yeah, his partner, and they go to where the victim is at. So they see who the victim is. The place is crawling with people. He's telling people, get out. If you're not around, if you don't need to be here, then you need to leave. He is trying to get a sense of the crime scene or whatever. And Priya's trying to ask him, okay, should we do this? Should we do this? And he's just like, no, focus on this, focus on that, go deal with them. So he tells her to go deal with the reporters. So Anna's there with her cameraman and he's filming everything. So Priya tries to go and wrangle the reporters together and they're not paying her no mind. So Jack comes and he, gets their attention, tells them to leave, tells them a quick, broad story just to it's a victim. We can't say who it is, X, Y, and Z. So he walks away to leave, and then Anna yells his name, and she was just like, "Is it true? Did you know the victim?" And he looks back, and then he's shocked, and then he just ignores it, and then he just walks. He just leaves. So, let's see. Because I got episodes. It's 6 episodes. I got episodes 1, 2, and 3 all mixed up in here all together. So excuse me if I say things that happen in episode 2 and 3 in episode 1, but you know where I'm going. So what happens next? So he goes to find Jack is pissed because Anna's back in town. He wants to see why she's back in town because we find out that's his wife. Again, she's been missing for a year. He was looking for her. He couldn't find her. Now she's back in town and it's just like, where you been, girl? Where were you? So he goes to the hotel that she's staying at. And I apologize. Before he goes there, Anna is eating with Richard and they're talking about where she's been and how did she know that Jack knew the victim. And she's just basically saying I didn't say that he knows her, but it's a small town, of course he should know who it is, X, Y, and Z. So she tells him that she's been gone for a year because she was writing a book. They laugh it off. She asks him questions about his wife and how he feels because his wife is making more money than him, and she's doing the morning, evening, and afternoon and weekend, so that she has no time for him. So they go back to the hotel room. They're trying to sleep together. They are sleeping together, and Jack shows up and he hears it. So he starts banging on the door. So they don't get to finish. And she goes and she sees that it was Jack that was banging on the door. And that's when we find out that they're married. So Anna leaves. She goes to see her mom. And while she's leaving, Jack sees her and he's just trying to get her attention, and she just burns off. So she goes to see her mom. Jack comes over there and he's just where you been? Like, where you been, woman? Um, when he first okay, so when she gets to her mom, she's talking to her mom. Her mom is so excited to see her because again, she's been gone for a year. Her mom's so excited to see her. Jack comes and she's just like, "Oh my God, Jackie, look who's here!" Da, 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 da. She's all excited, and Jack and Anna start to talk or argue actually, and then her mom comes back in and she's just like, "Jackie, when'd you get here?" And he was just like, Anna's looking like, "Wait, what?" And she's just like, "He's been here. You just said hi, like, what's up?" And Jack was just like, I'm good." And then her mom was just like, "I was just gonna go make some coffee. Would you like some?" And so then Jack and Anna go outside, and Jack basically tells her that he thinks that her mom is suffering from not amnesia but dementia because they found her walking in the street, in the middle of the street, butt naked, and she didn't know where she was. She couldn't remember how she got there, so he's worried or whatever. So Anna's just like, "Has she seen anybody about it?" And he was just like, "No, your mom doesn't want to go see anybody." So now she's worried or whatever. So she asked him like who was the victim, and he tells her Rachel, and I forgot her I forgot her last name. I want to say it's Duffy, but I think she kept her last name from when she was like her husband, because I think his name was Clyde Duffy, but they called him Duffy the whole time. So yeah. So she finds out that it's Rachel, who happened to be a friend of hers when she was in high school. And so he was just like, "Don't say anything, X, Y, and Z." He was just like, "Fine." So he goes home and he's with his sister, and apparently she's a drug addict, crack fiend. And I apologize. I forgot to put this up. My fault, y'all. So this is Anna, and that's Anna, and that's Jack. So, anyways, so he goes home. He goes to his sister's place because that's where he's living or whatever. And she's an alcoholic, drunk, addict. She's everything, and she has a little girl or whatever. So she's like, like, "I heard there was a a unalive case. Like, do you know who it is? Know who it is? Da 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 da." So they're talking, and then they hear the news comes on. Lexi comes on, and because they're based out of Georgia, so they're in Delanigan, and um yeah, they're in Delanigan, and Jack and Anna used to live in Atlanta, but they are from Delanigan. So they get the news from Atlanta. So the Atlanta news comes on with Lexi's there, and she shoots it to Zoe. I'm sorry, not Zoe. She shoots it to Anna because Anna's in Delanigan, and she's talking about the murder victim, and she says who the murder victim is. And so Zoe is just like, "Oh my God, it was Rachel." And Jack is pissed because he specifically told her, "Don't say anything because we haven't told the husband yet. So don't say anything." So we go into episode 2. So we're in episode 2, and I done wrote down paper notes for this. Sorry. So Jack is pissed because it was just like, "Girl, I told you not to say who the victim was, and you said who the victim was." And it's just like, "Girl, like, I could get fired for this. Why are you all going on the news telling everybody everything when we ain't even, come on now." So he goes looking for Anna. He goes to the hotel, like the inn that they're in or whatever, the bed and breakfast type place or whatever that they're in. And they go, like, he goes there and he goes off on her, and he's like, pissed that she said anything. And he was just like, "You live to hurt me," all this other stuff. And so he was just like, "You do your job and I'll do my job." And then she was just like, "So you haven't told the husband?" And he was just like, we couldn't get in touch with him because they had tried going to his house, but there was no answer. So she asked, "So is this a unalive? Like, is this a is this a, and he was just like, or she was just like, do you have any suspects? And he was just like, gosh, like you can't help yourself. Like, come on. And she's just like, I'm doing my job just like you're doing your job or whatever. So we see them at the medical examiners. We see Jack and Priya. They go to the medical examiners and they're seeing what's going on. Like, they find out that she was punctured. I'm trying to figure out ways to say these things without getting flagged, but she was punctured 40 times. And they were trying to think if it's a crime of passion or the person she was sleeping with because she was pumped full of semen. And so so the medical examiner wants to get DNA samples from everyone, like everyone that was at the scene and everything, so she can rule them out or whatever. So Jack takes he says they'll come back and do it because they got to go see the husband or whatever. So they leave. They go and talk to Duffy, and he lets them know of his arrangement with Rachel because he's impotent, and their agreement was that she can do whatever she wants to do, but she can't do it with anybody in town. Men, women, it's her business as long as it's nobody in town, not at their house. She also likes to do it in trucks and big cars because she feels like she's in high school, and all this other stuff. So they ask him about his alibi. He was at home that night walking his dog. He shows them the video footage because he has cameras around his house. So he shows them the video footage of Rachel leaving and then him leaving later that night to walk his dog. So they ask him for the clothes and he gives it to them. He had washed it, cleaned it, and everything. And they're just like, you washed the clothes? You even washed the shoes? Like, something ain't right about that. So they leave, and Priya wants to do something, and Jack keeps throwing her off, like, no, don't do it, do this instead. So he's just like, go and look for the go and take pictures of all the cameras around the house or whatever. But I also, sorry, they were looking for her phone because they couldn't find the phone on her. They find out that she did have her phone when she left. So now they're looking for the phone. The husband tells them that, I know the phone is on because I've been calling it all night just to hear her voice, just to listen to her voicemail or whatever. And they tell him, stop calling the phone because that's going to drain the battery. So mind you, before, when they were outside knocking on the door, we were in the truck. Like, the view was from inside the truck, looking at them, knocking on the door, and you hear buzzing. So once they leave, he tells Priya, go look at all the pictures around the house or whatever. He gets in his truck to make a phone call, and he hears the buzzing. So he looks through his truck, and he finds the phone. So yeah. So he finds the phone and he sees that Duffy is calling, and it's just like, sir, we just told you not to call. Why are you calling? So it's just like, Duffy, did you do something? And also, Jack, did you do something? Because why you keep throwing Priya off? Like, what's going on? So, because she had found a boot print and she wanted to get a cast of it, but he was like, no, we don't know if that's it or whatever. But she did it anyway because Priya was just doing her own thing. She was just like, yeah, I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'm still act like I'm listening to you. But, child, yeah. So, oh, yeah, sorry. So, a lot happened. I'm sorry. It's a lot happened. So, so before they left the house, when they were talking to Duffy, he said something about her being punctured 40 times. And Jack was just like, wait, how did you know that? Because we didn't tell you that. And that hasn't been released. And he was just like, well, that's what Anna told me, because apparently Anna, the reporter, had came to see him that morning. And he was just like, he didn't want to give her an interview, but she pushy. So he gave her an interview. And so they asked him, is there anything that she asked you that we didn't ask? And so he was just like, did she tell anyone who she was meeting? And he was just like, her best friend Helen. So Priya wants to reach out to Helen, but Jack is just like, no, we got to do this and this. We got to get his phone records, do this, do that. And so he's like, trying to throw her off of the scent. So as he's doing that, he's calling Helen, trying to get a meeting with her, but she's not, like, she's busy. And then we find out that she was actually sorry, this was when Priya was going around with the cameras. He was calling Helen to try to talk to her, but she was on another call. She was actually talking to Duffy, and he was just like, once this is done, then I'm done with you, and when I call you tonight, pick up. And so he hangs up on her, and he keeps calling his wife's phone. So we get in the car, and he's just like speeding because he's trying to get to the police station so he can drop off Priya, and then he can try to get to Helen to see what she knows, because we find out that the night of the unaliving, he was the last person. He was the one who pumped her full of semen, clearly. So we see the medical examiner, and she's like, finishing doing her autopsy, and she finds like a something tied to Rachel's tongue. So she puts it in an evidence bag or whatever. Let's see. So Anna goes to see Helen, and it's a frosty reunion. Clearly they don't like each other, but apparently they were friends at one point in time. So she goes to so she goes to see Helen. They have some back and forth, and Helen is just basically like, oh, do you know who Rachel was sleeping with? And Anna's just like, who says I know, all this other stuff. And she's just like, oh, I know. And Anna's like, no, you don't. And she was just like, maybe we should talk to Jack, which again is Anna's husband. And Anna gets flustered. And so as Anna's getting ready to leave, Helen says something, does a secret keep its point? Is a secret as good as it is, even though it's 20 years old? And she says, well, it's not really a secret if 5 people know. And Anna was just like, 4, unless you forgot, you're forgetting Rachel, because she's no longer alive. So that means there's 4 people that knows this secret. And Helen was just like, Anna was just like, oh, I'm sorry, my mom said I left my manners in Atlanta. And Helen says, at least it's better than leaving a dead baby in Delonigan. And I was just like, this okay. So Anna is flustered, because apparently we find out that her and Jack's baby is no longer here, and that's the reason why she left for a year. So Helen calls the security to escort Anna out, and Anna leaves. And let's see. So then we see let's see. Yeah, so we find out that he was sleeping with Rachel. Oh yeah, Priya. So Priya calls Jack when once they got to the station. Jack told Priya to check and see if Duffy called his wife after they left and who else he called. So she calls the people and um, she gets his cell records and she finds out that he was calling his wife and he also called Helen. And so she's just like, why would he call when we told him not to? Because that drains the battery. And he's just like, she was just like, maybe there's something in the phone he doesn't want us to see. So now Jack is happy because it's just like, okay, finally she's coming off that trail about whoever slept with her is the one who did it. Sorry. So we so she finds that out. She also found the boot print. Um, she got the results back from the boot print, and she knows that it's Timberland size 10. And as she's talking to him and telling him these things, he's like at, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, he's looking for Helen. He's trying to find Helen because he couldn't reach her and he wants to know what she knows. So he tries to get into Rachel's phone, but he couldn't get into it. So he goes to the morgue and he tells the morgue guy that's there that, oh, I lost my phone, can I look for it? So they go look for it, and then the morgue guy, he says they couldn't find it, so he was just like, oh, is there a janitor that we can speak with? The morgue guy leaves where the bodies are because he acts like he gets a phone from his wife, and then he goes and he finds Rachel's body and he uses her face to get into the phone. So he deletes his thread with her, the thread message that he and Rachel had, and then he looks at the message with Rachel, and then he finds out that Rachel knows about him. Sorry. Ooh. So sorry, y'all. So he finds out that Helen knows about him and Rachel. So we're going into episode 3. So again, before we ended episode 2, Anna went back to her mom's house and her mom makes her eggs. When she gives her the eggs, the shells are in it or whatever. And she gets a call from her boss, and her boss is just like, we can't find Lexi. We got to go, like, you got to come back so that you can do the news. So she goes back to Atlanta. We go into episode 3. She's in the, she is at the, she's at the station, and if I'm not mistaken, this is when she has a daydream about, so she has a flashback of when she's in high school, and this is where we find out that Rachel Ellen, so she has, like, when we start off episode 3, she has a flashback of meeting Helen, Rachel, and Zoe, and we find out that they're bullies. So she meets them when she first comes to the school. They, like, she's just like, Rachel's just like, oh, meet me at lunch, because her mom is just like, oh, can you look out for my girl? They was just like, oh yeah, meet us at lunch. And then they're just like, how do you know her? And she's just like, oh, her mom cleans our house, but I didn't know she had a daughter, all this other stuff. So when they're at lunch, they're making fun of Catherine, which is a big girl, and Anna was like, maybe she's just lonely, so they were just like, okay, invite her over. So they invite her over, and they're talking, and Kath, um, Rachel knocks over Catherine's drink, and then she was just like, "Oh, you can have my drink or whatever." So she takes it. She was just like, go ahead, take a sip. So she takes a sip, and then she was just like, "This tastes like something's in it." She was just like, "Yeah, my piss." She drank my piss, and she just like, embarrasses her, and like, I didn't know they were gonna do that. Like, what the hell? So then we go back to present day. Anna's getting all dolled up to get on the news. She comes, they mic her up. They did her makeup, they mic her up. She's at the podium about to go on air, and then Lexi shows up, and my phone and my sister-in-law sitter fell through, but she showed up at the last minute, and she was just like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I can't believe they called you in for this, da 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 da." She was just like, "Save travels home." Like, you did that on purpose, Heffel. But anyway, so Anna leaves. She throws the eggs that her mama gave her on Lexi's car or whatever, and Priya bringing down DNA samples to the morgue, and then the guy asked her, "Did your partner ever find his wedding ring?" And she was just like, "No, I don't think he did." So now Priya is like now starting to look at Jack, because again, Jack's been moving funny. Like, he been moving real funny. So Jack goes again. He goes to see Helen, but he can't get in touch with her. Let's see. Yeah, he goes to see. He's trying to find. Sorry. So in this episode, this is where, and again, I apologize that I'm all over the place, but this is the episode where um Priya is telling Jack that the boot came back. It's some Timberland size 10, and there was only 5 people on the scene, so this has to belong to the killer. So he's like, dang, ugh, because they're about to be on to him or whatever. So he tells her to go follow Duffy. So he keeps putting it on Duffy, like it's Duffy, like that's who we need to be looking at. So he's just like, follow Duffy and see where he goes. He's again still looking for trying to find Helen or whatever, and then her neighbor tells her that she's at the school or whatever. So we see Priya feeding her fish or lizard or whatever it was, and she goes into a room and she puts up the boot print under a picture of Jack, and it's like not a victim board, like a detective's board where they have like the victim and all the different evidence or whatever. All the different evidence or whatever. So she puts up that boot print under Jack, and it's just like, okay, so Jack, she coming for you. So Jack goes back to the crime scene, and he's looking. So he's like, he got his flashlight, he's looking everywhere, and he sees the boot print, and he's just like, dang it, like, why she had to get this boot print or whatever. And as he's looking, he notices across the street like some lights come on or whatever. So he notices it. So he goes across the street, and come to find out it's a grave, like it's a grave site or whatever. So he goes, and it's the grave site where his daughter is buried. And like the groundskeeper comes and is just like, I'm gonna call the cops. And then we find out that it's an old coach. It's Jack's old coach. So they're talking, and he tells him, the kids used to vandalize this place until we put up the cameras. And he was just like, oh, y'all put up cameras? How far back does it go? So he goes to look at the cameras or whatever. And sorry, he goes to look at the cameras, and he sees, like, he's looking at the footages of the night of the unaliving, and he tells them to zoom in on one grave, and he was just like, what's that? And we see a person standing up from a grave, And the coach is just like, you should know what grave site that is. And he was just like, yeah. And so he goes to the grave site, and then we find out it's his grave site. And sorry, we find out it's his daughter's gravesite. And then also in the video we see a car, like we see a car and a truck drive, well, we see a truck drive by, which is his truck. So we get a flashback of that night where it's he had drove his truck there with Rachel, and they're getting it in his car. And then it pans out, and then you see Anna is standing there. So Anna was the one at the grave, and she's seen him driving by with Rachel. She goes into the woods where they are, and we see her watch them have sex or whatever. And that was, again, the same night where she came in from the rain and she was cleaning all her stuff. So it was just like, okay, so now we have Duffy could be a suspect, Anna could be a suspect, Jack is a possible suspect. Those are right now the three suspects that we have. So it's just like, okay, we getting somewhere. And then we also Anna, we see Anna, and she has a flashback of them losing the baby. So again, this is when we find out that they lost the baby or whatever. So we see Anna. Anna was talking to Richard earlier in the episode, and she was telling him about how she had went to the station, and then Lexi showed up because her sister-in-law's or whatever. And we find out that she doesn't have a sister-in-law. She doesn't have a sister, and her sister died like 20 years ago. So that's when Anna realizes, oh, this B faked it. Oh, okay. So she tried to humiliate. She was trying to humiliate me. That's what she was doing. Okay, I got her. So Jack gets a call. He gets a call from his police, the police officers, telling him that that Alice was found wandering again. So he goes to get her, and she talks to him, and she's just like, do you still love my daughter? Like, reach out to her. Like, what's up? What's going on? So he reaches out to Anna. He's just like, we need to talk, please, or whatever. So the next day, he sends her the message, like, can we talk, please? And he goes home and he falls asleep. He wakes up the next day to Priya calling. He answers, and she's just like, I've been calling you. We have another body. So let's see. They found another body. So he goes to the So she tells him they found another body, and the body is Helen, the person that, Rachel's best friend or whatever. And so he gets to the school because that's where she was. And he was just like, who called it in, or who found the body? And she was just like, the same person who found it, Anna. And we see Anna. So we also find out that because Jack initially, when he found out about Anna and Richard, he told Priya to do a background check on Richard, and we find out that Richard has a record because he broke a woman's jaw. So we're now in episode 3, and if I haven't said that already. So Jack is talking to Anna, and he's just like, what's the timeline? She tells him, what's her name? Helen had called her and told her to meet her there at 7:00, and she got there at 7:01. She found the body. She called her cameraman at 7:05, called her boss at 7:00 something, and then called the police at 7:45 or whatever. So he was just like, so you called your cameraman first, like, instead of police? And she was just like, well, I had to do my job because she did a story that quick. And it was just like, girl, you just looking real bad at this point, because what you mean you had to you found a body and you want to do a report instead of um calling it in, like, girl, what's up? But yeah. So Anna, he lets her go and he tells her, don't leave or whatever. So Anna goes to talk to the mayor and she's telling him that you need to like have a town hall. You need to um have a town hall so that you can ease the town's mind or whatever. And he says some slick remark like, oh, so you're from here, you should be thanking the Lonigan for making you and all this other stuff. And it was just like, sir, is you cool? No, you're not cool, but whatever. So um let's see. Sorry. Oh shoot, I'm sorry. I'm in episode 4. My bad. Oh, yeah, I done got to episode 4. I can't even remember when. How? So sorry. So I'm in episode 4. I apologize. So Anna talks to the mayor. He decides to have it. Priya calls to check on the phone records to about Rachel's phone records because they're still trying to, get the phone records. And she's just like, why haven't we gotten it or whatever? And the guy was just like, oh, well, we got a request to cancel it. And she was just like, from who? And they were just like, from Jack. And she was just like, yeah, no, run me the reports. Get that records and send it directly to me or whatever. So Jack is really, Priya is really on Jack's case at this point. So we see Lexi and she's Anna's on the phone with her boss, and once they get off the phone, Lexi comes in and she was just like, okay, I'm about to go and do a report in Delanigan. And he was just like, wait, what? And she leaves. So they go to the town hall, and at the town hall it goes exactly how Anna wanted it to go, which is everybody starts accusing each other and they're just fighting, so it looks really bad. So she recorded it all, got this all on tape or whatever. Jack tries to tell him like as much as he can tell him without telling them a lot, because again, he's trying to cover his own behind. And things don't go well. So they kind of like put it out there for that maybe it's Zoe that's doing this or whatever. And so she goes off and she leaves, and then she waits back for Anna to leave. So Anna and Zoe running into each other, and Zoe was just like, it happened 20 years ago. It wasn't even that big of a deal. And she was just like, what are you doing? Like, why are you back? Like, why are you back? And Anna tells her, like, how do we know you're not next? Like, shouldn't you be scared? Like, because Zoe was just like, we don't know if you're next or whatever, because again, they were all friends in high school or whatever. So Lexi does the interview with Duffy. She gets the interview that Anna was supposed to do. So again, Lexi done stole Anna's job. Now she's still in her interviews because again, Anna's trying to get her job back. And she's been doing a good job with this story in Delanigan. And it's like, okay, so she clearly is about to get her job back. But Lexi is like, yeah, no, I'm not about to have that. I'm going to go and do this big get with the widow or whatever. And he's playing it up, he's crying like he's lost something. He offers a reward for the for anyone who has any clues or whatever. And she tells her boss, like, if you run the story of the town hall, you have to run the story, you have to run my interview. So pick. And he's just like, all right, fine. So Richard is, because she had called Richard and let him know that she was coming and he was the cameraman. He was just like, why are you doing this? You already got the job. Like, what's the deal? And she was just like, she's coming, she's trying to come and get what's mine, and I'm not about to let her do that. And it's just like, actually you took what was hers. So yeah. So they end up sleeping together. And then we see Jack and Anna, they meet up, and we this is when we find out that, well, I mean, we already found out because we had already seen the gravesite or whatever. But they talk about their daughter. Apparently there was they were going out that night, but the baby was fussy and Anna didn't want to leave, but he was just like, no, we have to, you work too much, this is like, you need to get a night out. And so they go out or whatever, and then their baby passed or whatever while they were out. So they argue about it, and she was just like, you wouldn't let, like, I just wanted you to talk, I mean, I just wanted you to listen to me, like, you wanted me to move a certain way and I couldn't move that way, and I just couldn't handle it, and I just had to go. So she left, like, she just got up and left. He was just like, you left me at the worst possible moment. Like you did that. Like, why would you do that? Like, I was looking everywhere for you and you just disappeared. Like, I lost my job looking for you. And it was just like, why would you do that to me? So they apologize to each other, and then they sleep together. And that is the end of episode 4. Now, this video has been going a little bit long, so I will come back with episodes 5 and 6, so we can finish it out. Make sure you got, and then in 5 and 6, I'll give my my full thoughts on this show, because yeah. So make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, and turning on your post notifications, and I will see you guys in the next one.